Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again. This is one of the pioneering American craft breweries and one that you've seen me review on numerous occasions, and yet another beer that came through the small partiers in Systembolaget here in Sweden, I believe back on the 15th of February if I'm remembering correctly. So for this one we are going to return to Chico in California, which is of course home to Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, and this one is their Hop Bullet Double IPA, which comes in at 8% ABV. One of their new all-round beers, or their year-round beers, my apologies, and it's supposed to be pretty damn good. This one, I had a rating of 96 when I checked it out on Rate Beer earlier, so very curious to try this one. Sierra Nevada, of course, famous for the the regular pale ale and also the Torpedo. The Torpedo is probably my favourite beer actually that I've had from Sierra Nevada, so very much looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Sierra Nevada before. No doubt I will add some more in the near future because their beers do appear regularly over here in Sweden. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Sierra Nevada Brewing Company then. So Sierra Nevada was founded back in 1979 in Chico in California, and this was when the founders Ken Grossman and Paul Camusi decided to expand their home brewing hobby basically into a fully fledged commercial brewery. So Ken had fallen in love with Chico while visiting some friends who were studying there, and eventually he moved there himself and opened up a home brewing store and this was where he met Paul Camusi, and they started home brewing together. But together they built much of their own equipment for the first brewery out of recycled dairy gear, and in 1983 they officially opened up their portfolio with 3 beers, and over the coming years they continually expanded, and then in 1987 they purchased the 20th Street plot, which has been the home of the brewery ever since, with their taproom opening up a couple of years later in 1989. Paul Camusi decided to retire in 1998 and sold his shares to Ken Grossman, whose family and things have been getting gradually more involved in the company. But in 2008 they introduced their beer camp event, and since 2010 they've also had a partnership with the new Clairvaux Abbey in Northern California, where they've been producing some Trappist style beers, and I think they are actually trying to get that abbey or that brewery set up certified by the International Trappist Association. But they've also been credited by the Environmental Protection Agency on numerous things, because the brewery run almost exclusively on renewable energy. They've got various things in there to try and make sure that they are basically as green as possible, which of course is very good in today's environment. But today they've been producing they're producing somewhere in the region of 1 million barrels of beer per year, and apparently they've also had the same brewmaster since 1983, and they now have a second brewery in Mills River in North Carolina on the east coast, which deals with much of their east coast operations, of course, and I think that's where most of the beer that we get in Europe actually comes from as well. So yeah, really interesting brewery, this one, that has expanded quite a lot over time, and of course they are one of the pioneering American craft breweries. The whole craft beer thing, from what I understand in America, started in California with the likes of Sierra Nevada and the Anchor Steam beer and stuff like this. So yeah, always cool to try new beers from this brewery. For a brewery that is so well established, they are always kind of putting out new recipes and things like that, which is always very good to see, and we seem to get a lot of the specials and things like that over here, which is always very nice. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company just now. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on over there and all the latest beer releases and stuff like that. But yeah, let's get on into the actual tasting of the beer itself then. So just to give you a little bit more information about the beer, as I mentioned at the start of the video, this one is an 8% double IPA. It's hopped with Centennial, Cascade, Chinook, Crystal and Idaho 7. Crystal is a hop that you won't kind of see used all that often. I've not encountered it all that much over here in Europe. It gives you this nice kind of herbally, floral type thing. It is more of a bittering hop rather than anything else. But Idaho 7 is a very interesting one that does seem to be becoming more popular. This one's developed on the Jackson hop farm in Indiana back in 2015, and it's supposed to give you some really nice kind of apricotty, orangey and papaya type aromas and flavours. So I'm very curious to see how that comes out in this particular beer. I think I've had 1 or 2 beers with that in it before for you on the channel, but the malt base in this one is 2 row pale, wheat, caramel, acidulated malts, and also some oats as well. So I'm thinking that this one might be a little bit more of a kind of New Englandy type IPA, this one. So we'll see how we get on with it. But yeah, let's get on and actually open this beer up then. We can get rid of the brewery and beer notes just now, and we can actually have a taste of this beer. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork before we open this up then. As you can see, very similar in style to the other ones. Apparently this beer you can get in bottle as well. I think the bottles are more sold in America, whereas the cans are what we get over here in Europe. But yeah, do correct me if you're watching in America if I'm telling you some wrong information there. If you guys are getting the cans over there as well, you know, you probably are actually, because this one does, it looks like it's an American measure can. This one's 355 millilitres, 12 fluid ounces. Apparently America still likes to use these kind of unusual measurements, if you like, rather than just using the millilitres and litres that we use over here. But this one was imported to Sweden by Wicked Wines, and as I said, it was released through Systembolaget on the Små Partiers on 15th of February 2019. So yeah, without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we will get on to the tasting then. Very curious to see how this beer turns out. And when you open this one up, you do get some really nice kind of fruity characteristics out of it. Let's just sugar it up a bit more and see if we get some haziness to it. Ah no, it's actually going to be crystal clear. We are still a little bit of that, but look at that. I did not expect this beer, when it had oats and things in it, I did not expect this one to be as clear as it is. We'll just let the stuff inside the can settle back down a little bit. But yeah, you can see this one. This is absolutely crystal clear. Just look at that. Very bright, goldeny colour, this one. A solid 2.5 fingers of a frothy, I would say, kind of creamy coloured head on this one. It looks very, very nice. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass then, and a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head. But you know, it does, in terms of its appearance, look far more akin to a West Coast IPA than a New England IPA. But like I said, this is one of their new kind of year-round beers that they've released, but you can see the head is just kind of very quickly sort of settling down. But yeah, it looks very, very nice. And if it is going to be a West Coast IPA, I will say I have missed these West Coast IPAs. The lovely maltiness and bitterness that you get from these beers is always very, very good. But yeah, lovely looking beer, this one. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on. Yeah, that smells really nice. I mean, straight away you can pick up the sort of German side of the hops, almost. I mean, I always found Crystal smelt like quite an almost German hop, if you like. But there's a lot of fruitiness coming out of this one. You can smell some of that grapefruit from the Cascade, and the Chinook as well gives you a big strong grapefruit note. But you can also smell some of these lighter kind of tropical fruits. The papayas that it was saying you should get from Idaho 7, to me, they're kind of there. It does have a little bit of a sort of mango-y note to it as well. I don't get so much of the orange, I have to admit. I'd say it's more of a kind of mango-y, apricot-y type thing. Mangoes, apricots, a little bit papaya, something like that. But definitely you can pick up some of the stronger grapefruity notes from the Chinook and the Cascade. So yeah, really, really nice smelling beer, this one, in terms of the fruitiness. But it's got a good bit of presence from the green side of the hops too. You know, there's some floral aromaticity in there, there's a good little bit of the grassiness, and it actually comes across as a little bit herbal as well, so I'm guessing that'll be the crystal coming out of it. It's quite subtle actually, but you can notice if you're, if you're reviewing beers every day, you start to notice things like this. But you know, you can detect that this one's got a nice little bit of a floral grassy note. It almost, to me, has a little bit of a kind of orchardy and peary, you know, that sort of appley, peary kind of ester that you get from the orchards. It really does have that type of aroma to it. But when you go into it a little bit more deeply and take a look at the malt base, definitely some nice bready and oaty notes in there, but also a little bit of a kind of biscuit and kind of caramel note in there. The caramel brown sugars in this beer are actually kind of quite sweet, but they have got a little toasted edge to them, but it's very, very minimal. That it really reminds me a lot of the McVitie's digestive biscuits, actually, the way these beers are, you know, the way the aromas in this beer are coming out. But you know, in terms of an IPA, it smells very, very nice, and to me, aroma wise, it does come across as more of a, you know, as more of a sort of West Coast IPA than a New England IPA. But the way the juicy fruits are coming out of this is really nice, and as I say, that Idaho 7 hop does seem to be getting more and more popular. Some of the guys like Peter and Craig over in England, they're reviewing a couple of beers now, the English craft beers from the likes of Cloudwater and stuff, that are using these you know, Idaho 7 hops. It seems to be gaining popularity along with the likes of Enigma from Australia. So I think that's maybe one to watch for the future. And I do remember enjoying the last beer that I had with that one in it. But yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But we are going to have a taste of this one now. So this one is the Hop Bullet, a double IPA, 8% ABV from Sierra Nevada Brewing Company in Chico in California over in America, but now also Mills River in North Carolina. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Oh yeah, that's quite nice actually. One thing I will say about this beer is that in a couple of my other reviews, and it's one of the things with the small partiers here in Sweden, I'm always a little bit reluctant to get some of the American beers and some of the beers that have travelled a little bit further, unless of course they are darker beers, because the problem is Systembolaget and the importers, sometimes the importers will bring these beers into the country, you know, far too early, and they'll sit there for a while before they go to Systembolaget, and you just don't get them as fresh in the shop. And it's a kind of two-way thing. The importers bring them in too early, and Systembolaget have two kind of strict rules to actually get them there. So sometimes when you get these American IPAs, they're just not in a good condition, to be honest. I remember having a triple IPA from Sierra Nevada, and it just wasn't fresh, you know. It just was not in very good condition, and this one is, you know, pretty damn good, I have to say. This one's in quite good nick. Yeah. So yeah, good. You know, I'll give a thumbs up to Wicked Wines and Sierra Nevada for kind of, and I guess Systembolaget as well, for getting that problem sorted out, because this beer is quite nice and quite fresh. You're getting everything that you should out of this one. I think this is pretty damn nice. So yeah, in the middle of your palate then you can feel that nice sort of pale malty bready quality in there. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. The further you go into the aftertaste, you start to get some of those acidulated malts coming out of there. I always remember Magic Rock from Huddersfield in Yorkshire in England. They used to love using these acidulated malts, and it was almost, the way I always described this was, it was like as if your tongue was just a little bit wax. It was almost as if you had a little bit of a wax on your tongue, and you just felt the flavour running over it, and it just made the mouth feel of the malt base just that little bit lighter, and you can definitely pick up a little bit of that the further you go into the aftertaste, and you can feel that acidulated malt in there, but it works very nicely actually. Yeah, I like how this one is going together. The malt base is very, very nicely done, like I was saying. So bready malt base, you can feel the acidulated malts the further into the aftertaste you go. Some of this, the oaty notes in there are playing a role in the flavour, but it's not creamy like you would expect from a New England IPA. It just has a little bit of a subtle effect on the flavour. The wheaty white bready notes and some of the creamier oaty qualities as well are very nice, but in the very centre of your palate you've got a nice little bit of a toasty caramel, and not so much toasty, it is more of a sweet caramel actually. The further you go into the aftertaste, the sweeter and sweeter this caramel gets, but as you come out from the centre of your palate you can also feel a little bit of a kind of biscuity kind of note. It always reminds me of the McVitie's digestives that we always get back in Scotland. It's nice how the malt base in this one goes together, and I like that little touch of acidulated malt that's in there. It does remind me quite a little bit of some of these Magic Rock beers actually in England. I do miss Magic Rock. They have got some really interesting stuff. We get a few other things over here in Sweden every so often actually. But yeah, that's definitely a nice beer, this one, and it is in good shape. As I say, that's one of always the problems with some of the American IPAs that you get in Sweden. It's a different story if you go over to Copenhagen, as I'm lucky enough to be able to do, and get some of the beers from the shops there, because they're always in pretty good shape when you get them in Copenhagen. People just wouldn't, you know, the Danes wouldn't stand for it, to be honest, if you were getting these beers out of Kiosk and stuff like that. But they've got their own breweries that are very, very good as well. So yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little touch of earthiness there. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you get a very nice, sort of quite dank, piney resinous character. That'll be from the Chinook in this one. The Chinook gives you this lovely dark resinous piney quality, but there's also a little bit of a more slightly spicy floral note towards the front corners of the palate too, and then round the very front curve of the tongue you get that typical lighter grassiness out of the beer as well, which is really, really nice. But yeah, I like how everything goes together in this one. If you just go behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you get that nice little oily bubble, where those juicy, fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And again, this one's really nice. If you go towards the very back of the bubble, you get the grapefruity notes, which will be coming both from the Chinook and from the Cascade. But when you come further forward in the palate, you start to get that more kind of lemony, pardon me, that more lemony citrus that you would also associate. That would be the Centennial that's in here. The Centennial gives you this lovely, big, sharp, lemony citric quality, but it's also got a good little bit of spicy, floral aromatic note, and you can feel that on the front corners of your palate. But the lemony sherbet's in there, and the further you go into the aftertaste, the more and more you start to get the things from the Idaho 7, you do start to get a little bit of an apricot-y note out of it. I think there's a little touch of mango in there as well, to be honest. But apricots, mangoes, papayas, you know, stuff like that. The descriptors actually that I read for this hop, you know, seem to be quite accurate. I think there, you know, there could be even a little touch of like pineapple or something in there as well. But I like how all these flavours are going together. And it's one of the things that's very cool actually, is when you try new beers with hops that you haven't encountered all that much, and it does actually help educate you a little bit about other flavours and stuff like that. But yeah, I like how the flavours in this one are going together. And as I said, the good thing about this is that it is in very good shape as well. So I would recommend this beer to people who like a more sort of West Coasty IPA. This one to me definitely strikes me as a more West Coast IPA, and I have missed the West Coast IPAs, to be honest with you, but it does have a little touch of that New England flavour, especially with a little oaty and wheaty edge that the beer has. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, then I would definitely say this one's at the top end of mid-bodied, maybe even pushing full-bodied actually. It's a big oily beer, this one. The carbonation's very, very smooth. You know, as I said, the mouthfeel of this one really leans towards that oily side of things. There's a nice bit of hoppy bitterness to this one as well. I think this one's maybe around the sort of 60, 70 IBU mark. This, it does have a good bite to it, which is nice, and it's quite surprising to see that with a beer that is using oats and wheat in the malt base actually. But yeah, I certainly like how this beer's going together. It really is very, very nicely done. So yeah, the malt base has a good balance between that smoothness in there. It's got a little bit of the smoothness you want from the New England style IPA, but it's also got a good bit of the sweetness that you would want from the West Coast style too. Nice bit of juicy fruity character, and you know, also a nice little bit of hoppy bitterness. As I said, around 60 IBUs I reckon for this one. But yeah, a very solid IPA. This one doesn't quite outdo the Torpedo and the Pale Ale and stuff like this. Not sure about that, but I would say it's very, very solid. And you know, when they're putting out new beers, you can't really ask Sierra Nevada for more than that. If they put out beers there that are very, very solid, you know, I think that's a good achievement. And the fact that they can produce so many beers that are so as solid as this one, I think kind of speaks volumes for them, especially when they're a bigger brewery. They don't need to keep on experimenting actually. You know, they could actually just basically live off the revenue they get from Torpedo and the Pale Ale and stuff like this, but they do choose to keep doing things like this, which is absolutely awesome. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. I would recommend this beer to people who like, you know, the sort of hybrid IPAs between the New England style and the West Coast, although this one, that said, does lean a little bit more towards the West Coast style. So if you like the New England flavours but are missing a little bit of that West Coast bitterness, then I think this one could be an ideal one for you. I'm trying to remember if this is the first beer I've reviewed from Sierra Nevada in a can. It could well be, actually. But yeah, regardless, very nice beer, this one. And I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. It does cover its alcohol fairly well though, and I'm starting to feel it a little bit now. But yeah, another very solid one from Sierra Nevada, and Systembolaget, my apologies, and Wicked Wine seem to have sorted out that little issue about these beers being fresh. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. The Hop Bullet, a double IPA, 8% ABV from Sierra Nevada in Chico in California, and Mills River in North Carolina. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comments section below, and let me know what your favourite beers are from Sierra Nevada as well, and I will catch you guys very soon with more. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys soon. Make sure you check out my social media, and make sure you have a go at this beer if you get the chance. Slanja, skål.